digital network. That's youtube.com/Secrets of the Sire, facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire, twitch.tv/Secrets of the Sire, secretsofthesire.com, and now we are on radiopublic.com as well. Tonight, Jessica Jones Season 3 review. We look back at the Marvel Netflix legacy. Was it a pass or fail? And we welcome the creative talents behind the most outrageous wrestling book you've ever read, Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always joined by my cohort in crime, Mr. Hassan Godwin, Lord of the Radio Public himself. How you doing, sir?
Today is pretty good. It's a little warm, though. A little warm.
Okay. I can see clearly the glasses are gone, which is an inside joke that people aren't going to realize, but we had to record our interview on Monday, and I had to go to the eye doctor. So
You're destroying the ambiance of the show.
You will see glasses, Mike Dolce. The funny thing about me and glasses, if I wear glasses and a hat, I am unrecognizable. Like that whole Clark Kent bit where people are like, "Oh, Clark Kent, he just puts glasses on, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, no, it really works. You put glasses on me, people are like...
When people aren't expecting it. I think the problem with the high profile, the problem with Superman, he's so high profile that, after a while...
Yeah.
But, I understand it was like the 40s, the 40s and the 50s, so, there was no high-class, high-quality telephoto lens or anything like that. People could examine photographs. You would not be able to get away with Superman today. Superman would not be able to keep his secret identity today with all the social media stuff.
Oh no, I don't think anybody would, right? I don't think anybody would. I think they actually Bendis actually does a good job in Ultimate Spider-Man of addressing this exact concern of being like, dude, you're easy to spot. It's like.
But Ultimate Spider-Man, at least he has a full body suit.
Yes.
So there's still some skepticism as to who this person may or may not be.
Yeah.
But Superman is just, he's just full facing it.
Yeah.
He's full face, hair. He's got the curl. That's his only difference. Clark Kent doesn't have the curl. Superman has this kind of curl.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, come on, dude. We all know. Like, you know what? We'll all keep it. We'll keep your secret just as an inside joke. But please, Mr. Kent, don't think we don't know.
Right. Exactly.
We really appreciate all your work, but stop.
We appreciate your work as Superman.
Yes, we appreciate it. And maybe he's a good reporter. We never get a story about how good a writer he is. We never know exactly what stories he's broke.
Perry White just has a thing for him. He's pretty awful, actually. Yeah.
Huh?
He's just eye candy for The Office. He's a terrible writer, actually. Okay. That'll be my. Hey, DC.
We'll work on that, so we'll pitch that story to DC.
DC, that's my Superman pitch. Come on, DC. Perry White's got a thing for Clark Kent. Boom.
Whoa, now that's getting...
Ooh. Wow. Well, we don't know if...
That's pretty...
I can't tell you. I actually am not a Superman guy, so I couldn't even tell you if there is a...
Don't give the whole story away, really. Don't give
White actually being married or not to a woman in real life, so I don't know.
I think he is. I think Jay Jonah is not.
Well, no. Jay Jonah was married. Oh,
Jay Jonah is definitely married.
Was married. I think she's dead now. I also think people don't care about this whatsoever. I think they came here.
It's comic books. Of course they care. They care about everything.
Jessica Jones Season 3 review.
That's too bad for them if they came here for that.
I was about to tell them, if you came here for that, we're actually not going to give you that. I'm still on Season 1. I have not even gotten through Season 1, which is actually not a bad season.
This is your show, man. Do the due diligence, man. Do your homework. Do your homework, Mr. Dolce.
I'm here that's what I got you for. I'm here instead to discuss the legacy of Marvel Netflix, because Jessica Jones Season 3, essentially, Hassan, give your 3-second review of Season 3, and then we're going to get into the larger, more important question.
3 seconds and 3 words. If you use a conjunction, should have been better. Listen, I've said this before. I have a friend, and he was celebrating the end of network formatting on television shows.
Yeah.
Network television shows have usually typically maybe about 22, 23 to 26 even. The first season of Star Trek, of the original series Star Trek, was, I think, 26 episodes. 20, and actually, if you watch that first season, most of the super Star Trek episodes are in that first season. Most of the big famous Star Trek episodes are in the first season. 26 episodes of science fiction. To this day, if you watch it, if you get past the special effects, if you're not one of these raging millennials on YouTube inventing the technology or whatever, if you get past the special effects, 26 episodes of absolute magnificent television science fiction, right? In one season.
Yeah.
It's been like that pretty much all the way up to the last maybe 5 or 6 years, where the format suddenly got truncated into, in order to justify it maybe for television seasons on cable, HBO, Showtime, these other, which is pretty much where all this stuff started. They reformatted everything into down to 10 to 13 episodes. And of course, network television shows, as with the popularity of HBO and Showtime and their limitless ability to entertain on a cinematic basis, like they can have nudity and harsh language and all that stuff in their shows. Network television tried really hard to compete, and the lesson they learned basically was, okay, we can also do only 13 episodes. Also, we could just drop it down to that, and then we could sell each show as a kind of mini-series or a novelty show, and pieces and replacements, that kind of thing. So, like I said, my friend Michael was kind of really celebrating this because he's very much into really strong stories and really, really necessary content, like filler content. As network shows, in order to fill out that 22 episode quota,
it's the Kim Bauer.
They would have
the Kim Bauer effect.
Yeah.
Chased by a cougar for 3 episodes in season 2 of 24. Because basically, when they have this character, they didn't really know what else to do with after season 1. She was the bait in season 1. In season 2, it was just have her get chased by a cougar. Let's have her getting chased by Kevin Dillon for a couple episodes too.
And then and then replace Kevin Dillon with a cougar.
Right.
And then you have you got clip shows. You got these
clip shows have a place.
Clip shows, yeah, but look, I'm a science fiction geek, and I'm telling you, I love the television show Stargate. Mm-hmm. Stargate SG-1.
Yeah.
You were notorious for. They would have 2 or 3 clip shows a year. They were notorious for it. It got tedious after a while. You do clip shows, or you do you have situations like in Lost where they open the hatch in 3 episodes. They would have the same cliffhanger of opening the hatch.
Yeah.
So Michael is celebrating the fact that you get a 13 episode season. It will have no fat on it. It will have no Kim effect. It will have no opening the bunker or whatever the hatch, opening the hatch. In Lost, you'll have no clip shows, anything like that. It'll just be straightforward story, and it would be so. Now, my contention I did not disagree with him, but my thought was, look, if we accept them giving us less episodes a year, they're not going to be okay, we got them to accept 13 episodes a season, so now we have to make sure those 13 episodes are quality episodes. We have to. That is our mission statement. We're not going to get that. We're going to get 13 episodes where probably 8 of those episodes are good, and the remaining 4 or 5 episodes are going to be the Kim effect or clip shows or something terrible. And it's actually gotten worse than I actually predicted, because now we're not even getting 13 episodes a year. Very famously, Westworld season 2 took 2 years.
Right.
Game of Thrones season 8 took 2 years. Daredevil season 3 took 2-3 years before we actually saw it. And when they come out, you're like, okay, well, it took them 2 years to do it. They needed those 2 years to give us some stuff.
You're hoping that's the case.
Yeah, well, that's your logic, right? If you take if your boss gives you a job,
right.
if your boss gives you a project and you actually successfully appeal to your boss to give you
Right.
more time to finish the project, your boss is naturally has the right to expect that project be top quality.
Right.
When you finally bring it in because of the allotted time. Not the case. Westworld season 2, in my opinion,
Oh, awful. Awful.
terrible. Yeah,
awful.
and not even worth the 2 years I waited to see.
It's supposedly, and it's like having, and we'll use the album analogy too. I mean, it's like when a band, first breaks through, they've been working on that breakthrough album for years. It's pent up frustration. It's touring on the road. It's struggling in their everyday life, and they come out with this album, and it's amazing. And then the record studio is like, okay, great, do it again, like right away. And you're like, whoa, I need to,
build up another 10 years of life experience.
Right, to do it. So you figure that by giving these creators the amount of time, I agree. When Westworld came out, season 2, I was like, well, this is going to be amazing because they're not going to fall into the trap of just having to do it all over again. Meanwhile, using 24 as an example, they did that every single year, and seasons 2 through 5 are unbelievable. Like they did it for 4 consecutive.
For the Kim episodes.
It was so good you could forgive that, and you could make a joke about it. But the actual, result was so good that it was fine. Like it was absolutely fine. There was no
to be honest with you, what you just said, season 1 through 5, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't know how much more people are expecting other than five good years of a television show, once you get into
they went on for 9, so
I know, that's what I'm saying, but once you get into season 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, right, you're in the weeds, because the novelty's kind of wearing off. Mm-hmm. You probably change your writing staff 2 or 3 times in that.
Oh yeah, you lose your best writers they go off and develop their own shows.
Right.
That definitely happens too.
If you get 5 good years out of a television show, you are in the minority. You are in rareness.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so Game of Thrones, we already know the result of the 2 years we had to wait for season 8, right? I mean, look, I liked it. I didn't mind the season, but I cannot argue.
Of quality, it's not as good as it was in the past.
Not at all. And the truncation is almost unexplained why they decided to do it like that.
So really, what you're saying, and what you're saying actually touches upon a great topic, which is what I wanted to actually get into beyond Jessica Jones season 3. Because quite frankly, I don't care about Jessica Jones season 3, and I don't mean that to be
I don't want to say
flippant. I don't mean it to be flippant.
I cared about
Marvel, Netflix as a whole. So I got this off of the IO9 website, The Conflicted Legacy of the Marvel Netflix Experiment. With the release of Jessica Jones' 3rd and final season, a TV experiment 4 years in the making is over. Whether laid low by Disney's own streaming plans or because simply it began to be more trouble than it was worth for Netflix, its legacy is now etched in stone, chasing a comic book weirdness that it once proudly eschewed. They go into detail about the history of it, how Marvel, the movies, started getting a little weirder as things went on. They say, how is Marvel going to make a talking raccoon and a tree that says its name over and over actually work? And then it did.
Mm-hmm.
At that time was when we first got Daredevil, and it was a breath of fresh air. It was this gritty, down-to-earth, grounded tone as Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock limped and punched his way through the Kingpin's thugs in that bloodied, slick first season. And it was the boldest statement a Marvel show could make at the time. It was a street-level story, away from the sheen and glitz of Avengers Tower, one that didn't need elaborate superpowers or cosmic beings to sparkle. That was followed up quickly by Jessica Jones, which also, helmed by Melissa Rosenberg, was like a 1-2 punch, and it was equally daring to mirror the Marvel formula. By the time we got to the end, though, of the Marvel Netflix experiment, can you honestly say that there's been more hits than misses in the universe? You had Luke Cage, which, again, kind of started out really good, but, again, fell into that same trap, which what you're kind of saying. I mean, honestly, they could have told Luke Cage in 5 episodes. They could have told Punisher was actually pretty good. I think Punisher was one of the one series in Netflix that Netflix did where there wasn't as much filler as in other seasons and other episodes. However, the first season of Punisher is not the Punisher. First season of Punisher is 24, which I appreciate. It's not the Punisher. Second season of the Punisher, though, first 3 episodes are unbelievable. And then it takes like 8 episodes to get to get to the very end, which, again.
It seems like there was a serious reluctance to actually. It's really weird. It's a victim of its own success, and I don't understand why nobody. The one lesson you can learn, because I mean, look, we don't really know all the logistics that go into the MCU. We don't. We all like to say we do. We all like to speculate. Kevin Feige did this. This and this. We don't know. We do. There are some things that we do know on the surface, but we don't know what they have to go through behind the scenes in order to make the MCU happen. Right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. And I'm not even implying any kind of nefarious stuff. I'm saying, just in general, we don't know the inner workings of the industry well enough, or their branch of the industry well enough to know exactly what the formula is that actually works. But the one thing that we do know, the one thing that is indisputable, is that they adhere to canon, to the best extent. They adapt comic books into live action movies. They adhere as best they can to the comic book continuity, and then they adhere to their own canon. So if they change any continuity or whatever, they alter things. They stick with whatever choices they've made in order to alter it. So there's tremendously tight continuity within the MCU, within all the movies of the MCU. For 20 movies, they managed to hold on to this, which is one of the most important things ever. All right? Not only that, but they bring some kind of real-life character quality and some pathos to all of our main characters, Iron Man especially, but also Thor, also Captain America, which is, I think the triumph of the entire MCU just because of how cynical we all were about Captain America when we first heard they were going to do a movie. And then we saw it kind of won us over, and won us over completely organically without any tricks or trickery. It was an absolutely great story, and it won us over. And Chris Evans, you can't take anything away from Chris Evans. But also, MCU is not afraid to have their superheroes do superhero stuff. They're not afraid of it. So they imbue their characters with character, with big C characters. They're small C characters.
Right.
They imbue them with big C character. They have pathology. They have goals and purposes and lamentations and stuff like that. And then also they can summon lightning with a hammer. Some of them can fly. Some of them have impressive genius. Some of them turn into big green monsters that can knock over buildings.
Do you know what's funny though? But you know what's funny? The point that you're making though is actually one of the things I didn't like about Marvel Netflix though.
This is what I'm saying. I'm trying to circle around to it. I'm saying that the Marvel Netflix shows didn't seem to want to learn this lesson. They wanted to get as far away from the superhero aspect of these characters as possible, and then use them as these strange novelties that they occasionally remember. Like I remember, one of the main points of Jessica Jones is that everybody forgets that she's got super strength and that she could fly. They almost played down the fact that she could fly. You never notice that. Definitely, I mean, Daredevil was all about being Daredevil. You really couldn't get away from that. But Cage, they use...
Yeah, but I mean, Daredevil, I actually disagree with you. And it's funny because you're actually...
Well, the first season was all about the pathology, not of Matt Murdock mostly, but about how he worked in being Matt Murdock with also being the nighttime vigilante.
Right. But I'm just saying, it's funny. This article is actually agreeing 100% with what you're saying.
What's the matter with you?
In that the Marvel universe started really going toward the weird, embracing the superhero aspect, embracing the intergalactic, and they basically could get away with anything. And then Marvel Netflix kept kind of hinting at it.
They were afraid. It seems like they were afraid of it.
I actually have to say in the opposite direction.
Why was he out of his uniform in season 3 of Daredevil? Why didn't he have his costume on? Why didn't he go back to the black costume? Why? I mean, I don't understand.
Season 2 was as close to comic booky as you're going to get, and it was panned. Iron Fist is another example of an attempt to get into that weirdness and just never kind of reaching it. Now it could be budgets. I mean, that's the thing that the movie also over a TV show. And I got to be honest with you, I enjoyed all of these shows much more when they didn't even when Jessica Jones first unveils her, super strength in the first episode of the first season, I actually was kind of like, I kind of wish she didn't even have superpowers.
Well, then therein lies the problem. It's like people
Right.
like, why were you watching Jessica Jones? You see what I'm saying?
Right. I know what you're saying, but I actually kind of love the idea that there is, and I know it's not these characters, so I'm not saying that they should be these characters. I love the idea of everyday people existing in the Marvel universe, being
But how
impacted.
long can you keep that going?
Oh, I don't know. Well, obviously 4 years. Obviously 4
Not
years.
even. I mean, not one of them got past 3 seasons. So you couldn't even keep it going for 4 seasons of a
Right.
show.
Right.
So
Like,
not, and then the last of each season, either the second season when it comes to Luke Cage and Iron Fist, or the Punisher, or the third season when it comes to Jessica Jones and Daredevil,
right.
are considered inferior product. Like seriously inferior products. I saw I think Grace Randolph did a kind of review of Jessica Jones. She didn't finish it. She did a review. She did a non-spoiler review. I think of the first 8 episodes, the first 1 to 8, and she says, episode 1 to 8.
Yeah.
And she said it really doesn't start going. I was really worried about it until I got to episode 8, and then it really started to take off. So I'm really excited about the rest of it. I'm like, wait a minute, 8 hours in technically, 8 45-minute interval.
You know what's
Had
interesting?
to wait for the show to kind of get off the ground. That's
Right.
not an
What's
endorsement.
interesting, though, too, is the fact that the Netflix formula is also something that plays a role here, right? It's the binge formula. We just have to get you to hang around for 5 seconds after the show ends, because the next one will start, and you have to just hang on until that next one starts, because then we'll keep you going, and it almost becomes, this zombie-like Matrix-like affiliation. It's not just Marvel Netflix, it's all Netflix shows. I mean, that's essentially, like, I am racing, like when I'm showing cartoons to my kids on Netflix, I'm racing to make sure I turn it off before that next one starts. I have 5 seconds to grab the remote, hit the menu button, get it out of that, get it off that show, because if the next one starts and I turn it off, there's fireworks going on. You know what I mean? Daddy, turn that back on. So, but it's the same. It doesn't matter if it's a little kid. It's the same thing. It's like once that next thing starts, that's all they need to do. Let me ask you a question, because I have a story here also that says Kristen Ritter officially shuts down Jessica Jones revival talk. And she says, I don't think so. This is reported by IndieWire. This is reported by TV Line. Do I think I'll play her again? I don't think so. I feel like I've played her. I feel really good about it. I feel good about closing the door. Plus there is a deal in development. The deal means a potential Jessica Jones revival. This is a deal that Marvel has with Netflix. They would not even be allowed to develop anything until 2 years after cancellation. So 2021 would be the earliest any of these shows could come back. Do you think any of the shows,
considering how quickly the years pass,
Well, that's true. 2 years is not necessarily like a mountain. It's not Mount Everest of time to get something going again. Do you feel that you're going to get a revival of any of these shows? And if so, if you had to pick one, we posted this on Facebook and put it out there. Which one would you bring back if you could? And would you bring any of them back?
I think I posted. I would marry Jessica Jones and Luke Cage together, the 2 shows together, because they have they don't they have aren't they married in the comic book in Alias, and then they have a kid.
Yeah.
And I would put that together because you can get all of Luke Cage's story and his villains, and all of Jessica Jones and her story and her villains together, kind of in one.
Right.
Really solid season. And I would either choose that if you were going to have that caveat of mixing the 2 of those together. And then you could also get Iron Fist in there. You can get all the good stuff in a Jessica Jones season 4 and in a kind of a reboot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you could.
If you had Luke Cage, you would be able to justify having Iron Fist in it. And then you could have Colleen Wing, and you could have Misty Knight, and you could have a lot of. I mean, it could be a serious television show. Or I would do it.
But again, what's really funny? I would love it if they just kind of delved into their relationship more. I would actually love it if they were more grounded and more gritty than anything else.
Well, you're contradicting the I mean, that's the
No,
problem.
I'm contradicting the article. My opinion was I actually really enjoyed the shows before they started to get into the weird. Daredevil season 2 is clearly, as low a bar as Iron Fist set
But I don't think that's because
in context of the rest of the shows.
you don't have to embrace weird. It's not. That's another problem with it.
Right.
They're not weird. They're comic books. They're superheroes. That's not.
Yeah.
That's to call it the weird is to deny the impetus that got them created in the first place.
Sure. Okay. I'm using the term that they used on the.
And that shows the article. That shows how out of touch everybody is in trying to assess this particular situation. Why would you watch a superhero show
Right.
if you're going to consider the superhero aspect of that show weirdness? Why would anybody? What would attract people? The thing that would attract people to a show about a superhero comic book is that you would get a superhero comic book, all right, and then all of the grittiness would be the cherry on top.
Do you know what's funny though?
Added bonus. But if you're gonna treat the comic book aspect of these shows as a weird aspect that they want to keep as minimal as possible, then you're actually negating the full purpose of why that show, why the product, why the intellectual property, why the franchise was created in the first place.
Well, that's kind of, it's funny though. I know you're saying that, but like at the same time, did you ever watch Zack and Miri Make a Porno? That movie with Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks, it came out like 10 years ago. I think it was a Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I'm like, I love that movie up until they made a porno. Once they got into the actual like gimmick of the movie, I was like, it completely, it went from this amazing dynamic Seth Rogen had with Elizabeth Banks, and I'm hoping that she was in it because I'm picturing her in it, but maybe it's somebody else.
It is Elizabeth Banks.
I think it's Elizabeth Banks. Yeah. They had an amazing chemistry. Their relationship had me just like, it was almost like watching Clerks again, where I was so engrossed with the characters themselves and the interplay between them that once they got to the gimmick of making a porno, I was like, oh, this movie sucks.
Could you keep that up for 5 seasons though, without them actually making the porno?
No,
Promise of the story, of the title of the story.
But I think what ends up happening is that once you have a gimmick, right? Once you have this thing that you can put into it, I think creatively sometimes your mind it's almost like you have too much to work with at that point, and then you also
there's your problem.
Right.
You're thinking the main product, the main focus, the main point of the story is a gimmick. It's not.
But I don't think that should be the main. I don't think that is ever the main point.
Why wouldn't the fact that Daredevil is Daredevil be the main aspect of his story? That's the main aspect. Like Batman, him being Batman is the main reason that you watch Batman.
Yeah, but this could be me though too, right? I used to love reading Amazing Spider-Man because I really wanted to find out what's going to happen with him and Mary Jane. Like I really wanted to find out if he was going to get that. If he's going to get.
Why don't you like the Netflix shows?
No, I do, but I don't think that they adhere to what they started with. I thought Daredevil season 1 was unbelievable. I thought Punisher was as close to it as they've gotten. I thought Jessica Jones season 1 is also very close to it.
What though? What exactly were you looking for?
No, I mean just attracting my level of attention and.
But I mean, how? I understand that they caught your attention, but I mean, what about it caught your attention?
If you want to hire me, I'll write you some TV that works. Don't worry, I'm not gonna give away my secrets.
Why are we discussing this then?
Well, because I think it's an interesting question, though. If
you're not going to talk to me about it,
that's what I address to. But we did talk about it, and that's why I addressed to everyone else too. It's like, if you could bring back one, would you? And which one would you bring back? We only got.
I understand. I get what you're saying, but then when I give my assessment of why it would work, you say it would work, or that you liked it in some other way, and then you kind of dispute what I'm saying, and then I ask you, okay, how would you make it work? Now you're saying you don't want to talk about it because it's your secret. So it's kind of it's like it's a Marinese knot. So I don't want to, Anyway, this doesn't.
I've already stopped being able to follow what you just said. We had a couple folks chime in. Mostly Daredevil seemed to be everything, but there was a few people. Jonathan London, former guest on the show, finished Iron Fist now that season 2 fixed the show, and Brant Fowler, who was the letterer extraordinaire on Descendant, the book I did at Image. He just said Iron Fist, and I just thought you just like to be different, right? Because no one wants to bring Iron Fist back, but these two gentlemen do. Amy Salzman And Tia Fabi went with Punisher, which is a given. Tia, we knew Punisher because she was a big Punisher fan. I would say that the most likely to come back would be Daredevil. I think Daredevil fits into the rest of the universe just so much easier than the other characters that I could see Daredevil, just being the easiest one to bring back. Punisher, I would actually bring back with a taller Punisher. Look, I love John Berthel's Punisher. I love that they almost did a real Punisher show in season 2. The first 3 episodes was a real Punisher show. Was the actual Punisher character at its best.
You said you didn't want that though, so it's weird.
No, that's what I want though. That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, you're saying that you don't want the characters to be the characters.
No. I don't want. So Punisher's different, right? Punisher has no superpowers.
All right, you got to give that caveat then.
Well, of course but it's obvious. Punisher has no superpowers. He's just the best there is at killing, and that's what he lives to do. And I love it. It was a struggle.
But that's the focus of his comic book, though, right?
Yes.
And that's the focus of. Okay, so what I'm saying basically is, if you negate the purpose of why the comic books were created in order to do your television show, you're getting away from the core aspect of what made the product or the franchise worthy of being created in the first place.
To me,
like Wolverine never using his claws, which is pretty much the equivalent of what we were getting with the Marvel Netflix shows of like him using his claws only at episode 9 of the season, so they could build up to it. And you're not really getting.
All right. So what I'm hearing you say is to integrate it more. I don't disagree with that. I always looked at the superpowers aspect as a backdrop, though, for people dealing with just everyday life.
And that's the opposite of what the MCU did. And then the MCU is ragingly successful, and everything else.
Well,
it
probably shows why we're on a above average podcast. See,
the DCEU, the Fox X-Men, the Sony Spider-Man, right. Everything has basically failed because they keep treating all of these main focus and focal points of all these of these franchises they have as kind of a backdrop, as kind of a novelty. Everybody wants a drama. We want Spider-Man, and we want the Amazing Spider-Man stalking Gwen Stacy for 2.5 hours in his Spider-Man suit, rather than him being Spider-Man.
Right.
And dealing with the aspects of what it is to be Spider-Man.
All right. Well, chime in, folks. We are on the comments feed. Please chime in on Facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire. We are also commenting on YouTube.com/Secrets of the Sire. Is Hassan completely off base? Is he wrong? Is he not correct?
No,
am I always right? These are the only questions I will field, and nothing else. When we come back, you get to watch me in glasses interviewing Ed Kunel and Matt Enton, creators of Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia. It's an amazing book. It's a new graphic novel from Suspicious Behavior Productions. It's really awesome. I can't actually stress enough. They sent it over to me, and I told them this. I don't generally do this, but just loved it. I thought the book was amazing. Get to hear about it. Get to hear about the creators. Get to find out their favorite wrestlers when we come back.
Do you like comic books and movies like The Avengers? How about TV or pop culture like Game of Thrones or Star Wars? Then you've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Michael Dolce, host of the Secrets of the Sire podcast. Joined every week by my co-host Hassan, Lord of the Radio Godwin, we bring you the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. And you never know who will drop by to chat. To date, we've welcomed actors Kevin Bacon, Paul Reiser, True Blood's Christina Anapow, and Buffy's Nicholas Brendan to the show. We've been privileged to interview rockers Chris Cornell, Macy Gray, Billy Corgan, and more. And we've even had Jackie the Joke Man himself from Howard Stern in studio to share some laughs. So join us every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on youtube.com/Secrets of the Sire for brand new episodes. Take a moment, subscribe to our channel, and be on the lookout for some major new announcements coming soon. For more info, log on to secretsofthesire.com.
Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. Again, we do this every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, streaming live on the Sire Digital Network, which is youtube.com/Secrets of the Sire, facebook.com/Secrets of the Sire, twitch.tv/Secrets of the Sire. You can always download our podcast after the fact on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Spreaker, Stitcher, pretty much everywhere, and radiopublic.com. I am excited to be joined by my two guests, Mr. Matt Enton and Ed Cuno. I totally butchered your name, right?
No, you got pretty darn close. I think close enough for me. Like, I wouldn't have said anything.
You know, as a professional, I should have asked you before we went on the air how to pronounce your name, but people just kind of know that I'm prone to butchering names, so it's just part of the spiel now.
You got mine right.
It's all Matt cares about. He's got his name right.
So you guys have an incredible background in the professional industry. We'll get to that in a second, but I want to put the focus on the book itself. Now, I will confess, I am not a wrestling fan, and we do actually get, which is kind of cool, makes us feel like we're important, a lot of solicitations to like, hey, review our book, and take a look, and whatever. And I look at it in 2 seconds, and I'm like, meh. Your guys' book, which is a wrestling comic, which is pretty awesome, called Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia, from Suspicious Behavior Productions, which is you guys, it got me so intrigued, and I read the issues. I was like, we got to get these guys on. This was actually just a lot of fun. Talk to us. We'll throw it open to either Matt or Ed. Talk to us about how did this come about, and just give our readers a 30-second elevator pitch for the book itself.
Okay, I'll start. The elevator pitch is a disgruntled professional wrestler declares himself galactic champion of the universe while cutting a promo, kind of as a goof, piss off his promoter. But of course, the TV signal goes out into outer space, and 15 years later, it reaches a planet of alien wrestlers who see this as a declaration of war. So that's Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia in a nutshell.
That's right. Yep, that's awesome. And how did you guys get together, and how did this concept even come about?
Well, we met in the video game industry. First, we were co-writers on Leisure Suit Larry, magna cum laude. We're, PS2, PC, and Xbox. So quite some time ago. And we got laid off, and we found ourselves with a lot of time on our hands. And we really liked working together, so we started writing screenplays together. And this was the second screenplay that we wrote as a writing team. Kind of grew out of, Ed just had this concept, alien wrestlers and steel cage around Earth, and not much outside of that, but the image of a steel cage around Earth was compelling enough that I think we both kind of like knew this is something we need to explore. And this has been, almost 10 years in the making, and it's gone through several drafts of a screenplay. It was a teleplay for a series at one point, and then finally Ed said, "Look, we need to put this out in the world in some form." Yeah. And the most affordable, realistic way to do this is as a comic book series. So we self-published the first 2 issues, and then we were very fortunate. Ed lives in Portland, which has sort of become, the capital of the indie comic scene. Yep. And that's where we, met the fine people at Starburns Industries Press.
So talk to us about the process of putting together the self-published books. Is it the same incarnation of the first 2 issues that was picked up, or did you end up getting it redrawn? And if not, if it is the same, talk to us about acquiring the artist, because I know a lot of people out there are like, I want to start my own comic and I don't know, but I can't draw. How do I do this?
We do nothing of comics. There is, like Matt said, a lot of comic professionals here. I went and took Ben Dewey to lunch, and Ben, I think a lot of people know Ben Dewey, an artist, does a lot of work for Dark Horse and Beast of Burden most recently. And he kind of laid it out for me. Like, we didn't even know what a flatter was. I didn't know it had to be flattened, but he just kind of broke down the process.
Okay.
We found all the talent, all the artists that we needed here in town. So Dan Scotty was the artist on the first 3 issues. Marissa Louise, our colorist, very talented. Letterer is Dave Lanfear for the first 3 issues.
Yep.
We found most of those people here, in my backyard anyway, and was kind of like we were just finding the artists. There's a lot of talent out there.
Oh yeah.
You have to have money to pay them.
Yes, you do.
And then they have to. Our
Damn those rules.
Yeah. Our qualifications were kind of like, A, we think their art looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
B, they will return our email, and C, we have enough money, we can afford to pay them. So that's how. I mean, it was really that simple, quote unquote, and they and they were pretty on board for it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think for our part, at least, our years spent in video games had trained us pretty well on how to stay at top of the production process. If you're a writer in video games, you're not just sitting there writing all day. You're wearing a lot of hats. So I think we were actually for a couple beginners pretty darn good at putting together a script
Mm-hmm.
that made sense, and then being able to kind of herd all the cats that you have to herd to get issues done. And when Starburns picked us up, geez, I mean, we were not going to pay to have anything like changed. Like, we were just like, but they just wanted to republish the first 2 issues kind of as it is. And now with issue 3, that's the first one that they've released for us, and we're now moving forward. And that's about it. It is difficult to get comics made because writing a script is one thing, and then as I'm sure the art is so much work involved in creating the art, and there is a few moving parts. Nothing like a video game, but there are some moving parts that you have to stay on top of. I mean, it just takes time and money, right? That's all.
What was the process of writing a comic book for you guys versus writing in the video game industry or writing a screenplay? I mean, it's the same, but it's different, right?
It's easier. I mean, it was new to us, so there are certain conventions of storytelling in the comic medium that we had to contend with. But video games, we as a team we wrote a slasher comedy called Lumberjack Man. So we've dabbled in just about everything except TV at this point. But video games, because of their interactivity, are exceptionally difficult.
Yeah.
Your average video game, you're writing about the equivalent of 6 film scripts in terms of. And this is just like a static medium. There's no branching, dialogue. There's, it's one story you're telling, and it's linear, and I don't know. But there were definitely we really lean on our artists. Dan Scotti for the first 3, Ken Good for the second 3, because there are just certain ways of storytelling. While we were comic book fans, that we don't notice that a seasoned comics artist would, and so we sort of give them free rein to be like, look, we can do this you have this as 7 panels, we can do this as 4, or let's do this as a double page spread. Yeah. We kind of lean on them because everyone we work with has worked in the industry for, I don't know, minimum 7-8 years, and we're brand spanking new.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's good to get a fresh perspective every once in a while. Talk to me about video game writing too, because that's something. It's funny because as comic book people that we are, that Hassan and I are, we've been in the industry for a long time. I always laugh when they're like, "You need to pay someone to letter the book. You need to." What do you mean? What do you mean one person doesn't do everything? And yet, when I heard and I read your bio that you guys are video game writers, I'm like, well, yeah, there's writers on video games. How does that process, A, how does one get involved in that to begin with? And B, what is the process of writing a video game? You kind of mentioned a little bit, which was great. You started talking about the different branches and things like that. I mean, I'm fascinated by the element, by that entire platform of video game writing.
I think as far as how you get into it, I think Matt and I were sort of part of a generation back in the early 2000s when the first 3D consoles came out. also the bar for storytelling in games was starting to get higher. It was expectations. So we were part, I think, of a whole generation of really game designers who were mostly hired to come up with the set of features and work with the artists and programmers to implement them and create the gameplay experiences that you'll have. But then out of the game design sort of profession became that sub profession of what they call narrative designer. Someone's got to be in charge of the story and how and where and when we'll tell the story throughout the course of a video game. And so we were sort of already in the industry working as game designers, and we were part of this generation that slowly kind of went in that direction of we're going to focus on story and dialogue. So we were game designers first, and then became writers. I think it's a little bit different if you're jumping into it today.
Yeah,
I actually get asked a lot, how you get into it, how you get like younger people or newer writers, and it's different. It's hard to break. It's like anything else, is hard to break in.
Oh yeah,
you can't I should qualify that. I mean, with a comic book, you can sort of, if you're an artist, you can draw, or if you can get together with an artist, you can make a comic book, and the production, it's so much easier. The barriers to entry are so much easier.
Sure.
Comic book, and then
now.
Yeah, now, right?
No. I mean, Hassan, I self-published The Sire in 2006, and that's going back.
In the last 10 years. But I mean, when we first got our start, not to step on anything, in the 90s, in the late 90s, it was kind of hard because of gatekeepers. Like there was like Diamond, a couple of other companies were standing in the way, so you couldn't just publish something. I mean, now it's absolutely. It's the sky's the limit now. It's absolutely easy now. But I mean, a little less than 10 years ago, it was a completely different story, even comic books.
I would say games is somewhat similar, like, with things like Unity and Unreal, and that kind of stuff being available to the public for almost free, and things like the iStore, the Apple store, that you can put your game up. The barriers for entry for games have also been lowered, but they're still so much more labor intensive than comic books, and I think expensive, so much more expensive to make on average.
Yeah, I got no argument against that.
Comics are expensive.
I mean, comics in and of themselves, is expensive, and it's time consuming, but it's not nearly on the level of video games.
Right.
It's not on that level of complexity by any stretch of the imagination.
Because you do see now these sort of one person shows like Stardew Valley, Undertale. These games just developed by a single person. But if I don't know about Toby Fox's experience making Undertale, but I read like the developer diary on Stardew Valley, and that guy was working like 18 hours a day for like 3 straight years, and it paid off ultimately, but it could just have easily have gone nowhere.
Yeah, and it's by the time you get it done, the technology's already moved ahead another generation by the time you get your work done. After spending, X amount of years all by yourself building something, but the novelty is that you did it alone, but the technology may have already moved past you. So it's kind of a crazy game. I've been studying it on the side, so that's why I'm a little. I know a little bit about it, but very little.
I'm changing diapers on the side. That's essentially
that's why I'm able to study it.
That's where my free time goes right now.
Yeah, you're busy being a dad.
Who's the bigger wrestling fan of the two of you? Let's get into the nuts and bolts of WrestleTopia. Who's the bigger wrestling fan?
It's funny. So Matt and I have kind of going through stages. I don't think either one of us really watches it.
I love
it. For me, I was obsessed with it. I would have to say, like, if you were to meet, as a kid in the 70s and the 80s, I mean, I was obsessed. Like, I had a bedroom which, for whatever reason, where one wall was entirely layered with corkboard, and I covered every square inch with a wrestling poster or out, something from.
I thought you were about to say you practiced wrestling in your room with the corkboard.
Oh,
like you were going to slam people across the wall.
I thought I was going to be a wrestler. I was obsessed. I would go buy back issues. I mean, I'm like a kid, and I'm combing through piles of old magazines at shady old bookstores, and I'm ignoring the pornography so I can look at the wrestling. I don't know, and then of course I don't, I fell off of it. And honestly, for me, I'm not one of those people that thinks, oh, wrestling sucks now that kayfabe is over. I don't think that at all. But for me, I mean, I was getting into it at such a young age, and I thought it was real.
Okay.
Really thought it was real for a long time, and then gradually started kind of figuring, okay, I've seen a real fight. I don't think these are real fights. But then when they sort of pulled the curtain back, it really had an effect on me. It wasn't anything intentional.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't bitter about, but I was just kind of like, oh man, maybe I should see what girls are about or something. And then Matt had a different experience, totally different experience with it.
Yeah, I would say Ed at his peak was probably a bigger wrestling fan than I was. But possibly I was a wrestling fan for a more extended period of time.
Sure.
There's 7 years between us, so our sort of when Ed was a kid, it was sort of the territories era. And when I was a kid, the WWF, now the WWE, had really exploded. I guess it would be the rock and wrestling era. And I would watch just as much as I could. My brother and I used to wrestle on my parents' bed because they had like a king size bed, and we used to try to imitate the various finishers on that. We must have demolished that.
You should have put corkboard up. What were you thinking?
Yeah.
Solve all your problems.
Yeah, and I watched it through from the time I was maybe 5 or 6 through high school, fell off in college, picked it up again, and once my roommates were kind of watching during sort of peak Attitude Era, so I watched it through my junior and senior year of college into a few years after that. But I was never a rabid collector in terms of toys, magazines, and posters. But since we started writing this series going on 10 years, I have and Ed does as well. We have pretty significant libraries. I've probably, I don't know, Ed, each of us has probably read 25, 30 books about wrestling.
Real quick, favorite wrestler?
Matt, why don't you answer that? I have a barking dog situation.
Behind the curtain.
Mine has always been Randy Savage, the Macho Man.
Macho Man. Good. Yeah. That's about the extent of what I know. I know Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. Well, I say he was just sort of a total package. When I was a kid, Hogan was great on the mic, but his ring skills left a lot to be desired.
Blasphemy.
Whereas, WrestleMania 3, everyone knows the best match is Steamboat Savage.
Yeah.
Savage could do it all. And also, I didn't understand 75% of what the dude was saying during his interview. But he was just so compelling, on camera that, I was just glued to the TV.
That's amazing. Ed, did we get the dog under control or no?
Let's see. We're still working on it here.
That's okay. We'll figure out a way to mask that now that we're after the podcast goes live. No, I'm actually literally lying to you right now. So
where's that technology going to come from?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Where can people find it, and where can people find you online?
Well, they can. We are currently available on Comixology.
Mm-hmm.
And you just look up Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia on Comixology. Ed and I are on Twitter at SBP _comics. And we have a website, suspiciousbehaviorproductions.com. Have fun typing all that into the browser. And then me personally, I don't tweet all that often, but I'm on Twitter, and I am at @TheMattEnton.
Very, very cool. Well, as I mentioned to you guys, we actually had guests on last week. I butchered the name of your comic, but I did tell them to go check it out. And Mega Ran, who is supposedly a big wrestling fan, is checking out your comics as we speak.
Awesome.
And maybe
Hi,
we'll
Mega
follow up
Ran.
with him. What's that?
Hi, Mega Ran.
So we wish you nothing but success. And anytime you guys got something going on, please drop us a line. Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
We hope to have issues 4 through 6 finish. Well, they will be finished this year in more timely fashion than we did the first 3 on Comixology with exclusive bonus content. Most of the issues will have something exclusive that you won't see reprinted when we do the trade. And the trade will have 6 issues. It will go to print. And in that, the trade itself will have some exclusive bonus material. So if you bought the single issues, you won't be disappointed. You'll get something really cool for buying the trade. So yeah, and we'll keep sending them your way. We really appreciate being on. Thank you for having us.
Well, definitely, like I said, it caught my attention and it was really good. I definitely encourage everyone to go check it out. It's Ed and Matt, Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia from Suspicious Behavior Productions. When we come back, we go spinning the racks. Welcome back to Secrets of the Sire. Secrets of the Sire is brought to you by all of our beloved patrons, new fan Craig Caruso, dedicated fans Einar Peterson, Matt Beyer, Ashley Haikai, and Oma Morales, our program director Stephanie Dolce, and as always our Uber fan Christina Dolce. Find us on patreon.com/Secrets of the Sire. That goes along with facebook.com, soundcloud.com, youtube.com/Secrets of the Sire. Find us on Twitter at @Sire_Studios. Instagram is Sire Studios as well. I want to thank our guests, Ed and Matt, creators of the outrageously awesome comic book Invasion from Planet WrestleTopia. Go out there. It's on Comixology. Go download it. It's awesome. Definitely check it out. All right, we do this every week. We go spinning the racks.
Spin the rack, spin that rack.
Marvel reveals Avengers Endgame re-release details. Don't call it a comeback. It's a bring-back event, apparently. Marvel Studios has announced exactly what will be included in the upcoming release of Avengers Endgame. For those hoping to see an extended cut of the movie, it might be a little underwhelming. The re-release, officially being called a bring-back event, will feature the movie in its original cut, accompanied by a video introduction by director Anthony Russo, a statement from Marvel, and will show an unfinished deleted scene from the film. Additionally, a sneak peek of the following week's Spider-Man Far From Home will be included. Participating theaters will also be giving away an exclusive poster featuring the Iron Man gauntlet and the tagline, "We Love You 3000." News that the movie was headed back to theaters first emerged last week, with Kevin Feige teasing it would feature new footage. It comes as the movie approaches the record held for highest grossing movie of all time, which is Avatar. Cash grab, Hassan? Cash grab?
Yes.
Actually, let's not even use the word cash grab.
Shameless cash grab. Look,
Shameless record chasing?
it doesn't even count. It wouldn't even count. It might. It will count. It will. It would totally count box office wise, and everybody will consider it a count box office wise. Just in my opinion, it's like you have to re-release it with gimmickry.
Yeah.
To get it over the top, you just didn't make it this time. Make a better movie next time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I kind of look at it that way too. I kind of look at it like.
And I loved Endgame. I think Endgame's a great movie. I've seen it a couple of times. It's a great movie, and I'm not one of these people who praise a movie. Like if it comes out and it's really good, I'll usually still only see it once and say, hey, that was really good. I really enjoyed it. I think I've only seen Logan twice. Yeah. Whereas a movie like Braveheart, some movies that capture my imagination, I've seen that probably 12, 13, maybe 20 times. So,
yeah.
An Endgame I've seen maybe 4 times in total, and counting. I want to go back.
You've seen it 4 times?
Yeah, I've seen it 4 times.
Jesus. Wow.
That's how that happens. But
I'm kind of impressed.
Huh?
I'm not even
Yeah.
mad. I'm kind of impressed.
I've seen it 4 times. Now, it being a great movie, if it didn't beat Avatar, it didn't beat Avatar. It's a
Right.
different time, a different era, but you're going to bring it back out, and you're not even going to give us a different cut of the movie.
I know.
They don't want to give you a different cut, because if they give us a different cut, it's technically a different release.
This is a bring back event.
Right.
To me, it's really funny. I feel like there's still some theaters showing it anyway.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. It's. I don't know if that's what they do. I mean, maybe James Cameron was on the phone, Kevin Feige, and he was laughing at him and saying like, "You'll never beat me" and stuff. And that's like,
yeah, I could picture James Cameron doing that because
I could too. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll beat you, buddy. We'll show you." But I don't know. I think it's great. I think Avatar. The problem that Avatar gets, the treatment that Avatar gets, it's the same. It's the James Cameron treatment, and a lot of people say this, and I kind of agree with it. Do not make the mistake of betting against James Cameron, because really, honestly, with the exception of The Abyss, and that's only because of the box office.
No. And what was the Battle Angel Alita?
He didn't make that movie. He produced
I know he produced it though.
it. So he didn't direct it, so that doesn't count.
Sure.
With the exception of The Abyss, and that's just box office wise, because The Abyss is a great movie. And I stand by that. It's a fantastic movie. He doesn't make bad movies.
Yeah.
I've never seen a bad James. Well, maybe Piranha 2, but that's neither here nor there.
So here's the one tidbit from this article that I actually thought was
Peter Jackson
more...
made puppet movies, so I mean, it just happens.
Here's a tidbit I thought was pretty interesting from this article, too. In talking about the Bring Back event arrives Friday ahead of next week's Spider-Man Far From Home. It says that is a movie, talking about Spider-Man Far From Home, that Feige has recently described as the true end of the entire Infinity Saga, in that it deals with the impact of, spoilers, a certain someone's death on Peter Parker and the world at large. The future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe beyond that point remains unofficially unofficial. And at this rate, expecting a true end of the Infinity Saga in a future movie might not be entirely out of the question.
That's kind of a mistake, though, to say that, though.
What do you think? It kind of is a mistake, right? And then part of it was,
they should call Spider-Man the beginning of Phase 4.
I guess
Instead of saying this is the end of something,
you could say it's the epilogue. I guess you could say
say it's the beginning of something, so that when you go and you enjoy it, you're like, oh, Phase 4 is going to be. Because a lot of speculation is you'll never be able to get us past Phase 3.
Yeah.
You'll never get what you already had without Iron Man, without Captain America, and theoretically without Thor. Well, we don't know yet. We don't know how much of Guardians of the Galaxy Thor is going to be part of, right? So instead of saying this is the end of the last, try to capitalize on the. And now look, I just spent an entire segment praising Kevin Feige and the MCU. But instead of saying this is the end of something, say it's the beginning of something new. That way, if Spider-Man becomes a $1 billion movie, you're like, yeah, Phase 4 is off to a strong start. It properly closed out Phase 3, and it's off to a super strong start.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But it seems like they want to make sure that Spider-Man is seen to be married to the Avengers 3 and 4 phenomenon, so that it carries them over a particular line to the end of the year.
I can see that.
They got nothing happening until Star Wars. So
yeah.
It seems like maybe that's what the point is, but I don't know. I have no idea.
Spider-Man.
I mean, I just personally wouldn't have done it that way. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
We actually get a little bit of a break next week. No, we don't, because we'll still be here. But we get that momentary pause between Spider-Man Far From Home and Stranger Things. But before we do, in other news, Transparent creator Jill Soloway to write and direct Red Sonja. According to Deadline, Millennium Films has set Transparent creator Jill Soloway to write and direct Red Sonja, a film that went back to the drawing board earlier this year after Bryan Singer was dropped as director. Soloway is coming.
Why would they drop Bryan Singer?
Oh, you don't know all. Have you not read about all his creepy, awful behavior?
Do you think I'm being serious, or do you think I'm being sarcastic?
Oh, that was.
Why? I wonder. why would you take a brilliant director like Bryan Singer off?
So here's the thing: if anybody listens to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, that you are not being sarcastic enough, because I actually am not.
If anybody listens to our previous podcast, they know how I feel about Bryan Singer.
Well, Soloway is coming in with a bold new take and gives the film much better optics that already has studios approaching millennium. Soloway's Topple Productions partner Andrea Sperling is also coming aboard as producer.
You know why Red Sonja's happening, right? Because of Wonder Woman, and because of Captain Marvel, and because of the what is it, Red Sparrow remake. Oh, excuse me, the Black Widow movie. So that's why we're getting a Red Sonja movie. And I'm not even talking about it's a capitalization on feminism.
I have completely lost whether you're being serious or not. I can't even tell.
I'm saying that why are you resurrecting Red Sonja? You know, if you're gonna be any property, why do you listen? I think this is just me. I'm probably 100% wrong, and I will admit it when I am proven so.
I'm gonna capture that. I'm gonna capture that as a bit.
How are we not? We're recording the whole thing. I believe that the maybe partially justified, questionable though, unfortunate backlash to Game of Thrones ending has been a temporary kibosh on all fantasy sword and sandals kind of movies for the time being.
That is a kibosh. Kibosh.
Yeah.
Kibosh. Kibosh is.
Kibosh.
Yeah, kibosh is different.
I never say bash.
Kibosh is like a beach kibosh.
I said kibosh. I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway.
We have it on record. I can't wait to replay it.
Please do.
That will be a drop too.
I've never said kibosh in my entire life.
We can literally cut. I am willing to admit I'm 100% wrong. Beach kibosh. Just that. We'll cut it together. That'll be a ringtone. That'll be my ringtone.
Anyway,
I'm 100% wrong. Beach kibosh. Someone's calling me right now. All right, when we return next week, actually, before we even return next week, if you're in the New York City area, July 2nd, come on down to the Chelsea area. We will be speaking. Sci-Fi's creator, Ramon Gill, does these amazing comic book meetup groups. It'll be all over our website and all over our Facebook page, so go check it out. We will be the guests of honor this Tuesday, July 2nd, so please check us out. We'll be talking about our podcast. We'll be talking about, all the cool things we do, basically, and Ramon thought it was worthy of putting us in front of a room full of people. So if you're in the New York City area, July 2nd, it's at Simple Studios, 134 West 29th Street in New York. And then Ramon will be our guest next week as we discuss Stranger Things and Spider-Man Homecoming. We're going to preview both, and we're going to pit them against each other. Which one will be the king of the summer?